Hey, good morning. Another unscheduled live event as usual. I am an hour back, and sometimes I just don't. So I truly do love the van life thing. Sorry I'm not filming, but I will start filming. I just have other things I need to do because I do have to work. So I don't have that much time on my hands. But I did say I was going to start doing some things differently. I have a choice. I can make like these cool ass videos with AI voices, like true crime design. Okay, it kills me that I have to sound and do videos like crime design in order to be taken seriously, or sound like one of the individuals we're going to be going over. Um, Here's another issue that we're all having is we're actually following the wrong channels. And I'm not saying Pavarotti is the wrong channel. No, I think he's amazing. He's still a channel I can't wait to go to see what he comes up with. He's not always correct, but him making the mistakes that he makes is making it harder for us to distinguish what is true and what is false. And it's only human, because even the guilters are doing the exact same thing. So, well, I want to go over a couple of things. I may not make too much sense. So I'm going to start off with Pavarotti. All right. Actually, no, I want to start off with Sea Girl. So let me do that first. Hold on. Let me get my Sea Girl up. I so appreciate Sea Girl from TikTok. She never copyright striked me. And the thing is when you're going to put out information you want people to see, you really shouldn't be so concerned that um, your channel is seen first. I get it, and I understand that, that feeling, because I've been through it. I mean, I still go through it every day, and I got to mature through this. And I'm maturing. I'm getting there, and I would complain. Don't think like I haven't, and I would be not understanding why some people get more attention than the ones who are actually putting the information out first. A lot of thieving going on. It's like a lot of piracy when it comes to this, but it's not that they're thieving specifically. It's a group they're ganging up on other channels by grouping up together, so to try and hold on to the algorithm. And it's not nice and it's not fair, but hey, that's a social media game, especially if you're doing podcasts. So I gotta find her. Give me a minute. It's not like that we have. Oh, here we go. Perfect. Now the only thing I don't like about Sea Girl is also because of how TikTok used to be. You were kind of forced to be quick with your videos when it comes to TikTok. And what I don't like is the fact that she had a long form instead of, like a wide form instead of a long form. And then she didn't even cover this any longer. Like, that was all she gave us. So hold on. And then I'm gonna pop back over to her constantly. So give me a second. All right, share screen. Okay, we're gonna go to Seagirl real quick. Now, when it comes to Seagirl, guys, all right, she finds the documentation proving that they investigated what Kaylee had purchased. And Kaylee, now I did a live event thinking the dad is the one that gave it to her, only because of something that he talked about in an interview, which I'm still looking for. It's just an interview that I remember. He put it out in 2023. It should be the end of 2023 or the beginning during winter season of 2024. And this interview was to clarify that his daughter is a fighter. So until I find it, this ain't going to make complete sense yet to you. But I think that with the two content creators I'm going to go over right now, it might be a little helpful to us all. Now, it needs to be helpful for me, because if I'm going to do the 3D animations, due to time, I really wanted to get into the theories and different theories. I still have every plan, but I really want to, instead of wasting time, I want to start matching it up to the blood splatter. So you got the body wounds and the blood splatter. So that we're going to go over that in a different live event. I did reach out to a few individuals that were going to testify, whether it was going to be for the defense or the prosecution. I didn't care who, because how am I supposed to match up the blood splatter to the wounds of the bodies when they are set up a certain way? And so we may not be able to get into all that in this live event, but that's what you're going to start seeing me do now. I'm up earlier because I'm thinking I can get more things done before I have to go to work. I'm going to give it a try. I'm usually never up this early because I start work at like 9:30, and so, all right, so we're going to watch this again. I want you guys to screenshot if you're able. Now, if you're on a TV, you're not going to be able to zoom in. Please understand, I am so sorry that this is small. I am not the creator of this. It's Seagirl True Crime Buff. I am going to reach out to her also to see if we can get some more information on this, which I believe I've tried in year 2024, but it was completely ignored. I think a lot of people were asking. I'm not the only person, but I noticed that some content creators put out certain information and they never follow up. However, if I'm wrong and she did do a follow-up and I just can't find it, if you can leave me a link in the comments after this is uploaded, please. Thank you. Because we need it. We need this. Okay? This will help us understand who owns what, because where is Kaylee's knife set? Not just where is Brian's knife set, where is Kaylee's knife set? This also could tie Brian and Kaylee together because they both bought the same type of knife. Could that be a coincidence, or could they have been friends? You ever heard of pen pals? Pen pals, back in the day, used to be where you would write to somebody from another country. Now, Koberger and his family have like a German and Italian background. Yes, they're mixed, just like I am. And I believe they do travel in and out to their country and back. We've never really heard them talk, so we don't know if they have an accent to their native language or they're completely American with the American lingo. We don't know this. Some people do like to hold on to their heritage and go visit periodically if they can afford it, and some, like me, I only had the pleasure because of being in the service. If I wasn't in the service, I probably would have never had the pleasure of traveling. Okay.
Did one of the Idaho 4 victims own a K-bar knife? I believe so. According to these police reports, it stated that the FBI Special Agent Douglas looked into Kaylee's financial records, including one of her debit cards. Yes, through an Allen warrant service for one of her financial accounts. And they also looked for that same service where a purchase was made through Blue Ridge for a K-bar knife. Yes, folks, Special Agent Douglas was trying to find the connection between a K-bar purchase from Kaylee's debit card, and that's why they used a search warrant for both the debit card and that institution and the Blue Ridge. Check this out. The document states, quote, on December 22nd, 2022, I applied for and was granted a warrant for financial records from Elin Financial Services for Kaylee G. A blank debit card was found with Kaylee's name on it in her residence. The warrant was requested to see if any financial transactions could be located showing evidence in her unalive. FBI Special Agent Douglas assisted in the service of the warrant to Elin Financial. This is where it gets crazy, folks. On December 22nd, 2022, at approximately 1825 hours, the warrant was served via email. Continuing on to this report, a search warrant for Blue Ridge on December.
Okay, we're going to pause right there because I want you guys to get your screenshots. Yes, I'm asking for help. There are some things I don't know how to do. One thing I'm extremely grateful for is Pavarotti and Jules of All Trades, because every single time I ask for help, even though they don't mention me at all, they literally go out and they go get it. And I do have new followers. I got a lot of them, and I may not be seeing their channels. So if you're one of them, like even Christy Chaos, okay, she'll hit me up. She'll be like, "Hey, look what I got," and I appreciate every single one who does that. And so just leave me a link to your channel, or a Google link, which is nice that I get emailed Google links. But please don't use my email to send me copies of someone else's shit, because it's not helping me. So when you guys are emailing us and you're just sending somebody else's work, it doesn't help us. So, and I get, let's say I emailed this to a content creator in hopes that they could find out more information about it. I think that I'm hoping that they can, but I got to understand that, hey, why am I sending somebody else's work to them when I can go look myself, help that content creator, and then give them this information that's not coming off of someone else's channel. So I'm just putting it out there, because our emails can only take so much, and then emails, if we want to keep some of it, because we do, some of the stuff you send us, we want to keep them as references. But it overfills to the point where we don't even receive emails anymore unless we upgrade in our Gmail account. It is extremely hard to erase everything when it comes to Gmail. And Gmail does need to change their shit, um, but they don't because they want to make money. They know if they put in where you can group up certain things and erase it and keep the ones that you have on like star or bookmarked not to be erased, that they won't make money off of you wanting to add terabytes. I think Gmail's an asshole. To anybody who's looking to make money in the future, I think that if you guys could do a better job than Google creating emails, that would be good software design right there and business. I would think about it. It's a good business opportunity because where is the alternative besides this and Outlook? I know some of the other search engines have their own emails, but when you go to apply for stuff, they don't even accept those emails. Or if you purchase your Microsoft email, which is a business email, some sites don't accept that. They only want the Gmail. So, yeah, it's getting weird. Okay, let's get back. I apologize. I'm having my coffee. I'm thinking about the mail, and I'm upset. I can't erase nothing that I want to erase, and I'm overwhelmed. Okay, and I feel like it's the Wild Wild West, or no, not Wild Wild West. Like back in the day, where back in the I guess the 20s and the 40s, where you had the mafia come knocking on your door for some money. Okay, if you want protection, you gotta pay us, or otherwise, you gotta pay them to be protected by them. Okay, but that's why I feel with this online shit, that it's a mafia. So they force you to purchase third party in order to stream, use music. Um, like I can get into it. Okay, I the frustrations to have an email. Anything you do online costs money. The cool apps are going, oh, look what you can do. And then how much fucking money do they want so that you can continue doing it? Like, you motherfucker. But that's where the money is. Yeah, if we can tap into that, where could we be, where we could just sit on our ass and people are paying your software to be able to do some fun shit. Yeah. Or productive shit. Okay, let's get back to this. I'm hoping that you guys got the screenshots, stuff like that. I will do my best to figure out how to find this, but the only reason why I'm putting this out there is because there's content creators who already know how to do this. And Jules of Old Trades is amazing. She knows how to get it. Okay, I don't know how. I know Pop waits for this information to be posted or given. He doesn't say, hey, I went and got it myself or anything like that. He doesn't do any FOIA requests. So there are channels who do all the FOIA requests. He never mentions any of that. However, I do appreciate a channel that can go over this stuff. But apparently, Kaylee owns this knife. I do believe Pavarotti did talk about the possibility of them having that knife under that bed or under that mattress the whole time. Because now I'm trying to figure out how Maddie or Kaylee would have gotten a hold of that knife in order to try and protect themselves, or how did the perp get a hold of that knife? Was it on her nightstand? Did the perp already know about the knife and was playing with their knife? Then you have Brian, who supposedly owns the site, but there's also documentation of him returning the items. But they never followed through. Did he actually return the knife? But there's documentations of returning how much money worth. Now, Pavarotti went over that. So I got to find that video. I do hope Pav will redo it again, but please don't put it in members. I'm gonna poor. I'm so fucking poor. I can't be a member of your channel, even if it's $2. Okay. Sometimes I'm in a negative, and sometimes I don't even have $2. And if it comes out and I don't have $2, then the bank charges me $35 for overdraft. I can't afford it. America is eating me up. Okay. I could be talented like a motherfucker, and I'm still getting eaten up by America. I love America. Don't think I don't. It's just if you travel to other countries. All right, let me tell you. If ISIS arrested me today, right, and I had a choice, so I want to remain American, or do I want to be a citizen of a different country, and choose the country? Oh man, I'll be like Belgium or Germany. Okay, real quick, because I've been there. Actually, I don't want to go to Belgium because I'm not trying to put down the certain nation, but they seem to they took over and they're not, they really messed up Belgium. But Belgium is still beautiful. It just isn't the way it used to be. I'll pick Germany. And I will go to Germany. Okay? Um, I want to remain American. Don't think I don't. But what I was more of an American outside this country than I am inside this country. I was able to work, survive, and enjoy life. But I don't here in this country. I don't. I'm trying to enjoy life, and I'm too tired. It's making me sleep. Okay, I want to go in nature. I want to go swimming. I want to go camping. I want to do some stuff. But then after work, I'm just so tired that I'll take a nap and the sun is gone when I wake up. Okay, let's get back to brass taxes here. I wish, I can just stay home. Okay, work less. They have better benefits on the other side. Let me tell you, I love the universal health care. I mean, all I gotta do is walk in with $1, and I'm whatever I catch is over in about 4 days. Okay, I never have been treated so well, and your rights and everything. So it was perfect, and they don't have this credit system. However, the only bad thing is if you do get yourself in a credit crunch, they come to your address and they start auctioning off shit until you pay off your credit. That's the only bad thing. Okay, about not okay. So I mean we can get into this, but that's the way it is in Belgium. So everybody's very careful about sharing their address or having anybody use their address, and that's another reason why they charge about $30,000 if you want to use their address. Okay, because if you get yourself into any type of debt, they come to the house. They don't care who lives there. They don't care whose property is whose. It's the address. And what they'll do is they'll auction off whatever they can until the debt is paid. Because they don't have a credit system. That's the only bad thing. Alright, let's get back to brass taxes. Now, does this belong to the girls? Is it possible that the perpetrator came across her knife and ended up using it? So, after watching Pavarotti, which we're going to go to next, and he shows that there are blood splatters on the sheath that match to the side of the sheet. Now, what we don't know is if there's blood splatter underneath that sheath. Okay, so I want to make sure I put it out there because that sheath definitely looks like it was put there. But it could be coincidental and it just happened to be a real struggle. But if there's a lot of blood spots under it, that means it wasn't placed there until after the first blow. All right, so here's the thing. Let's say there is two bodies on that bed. Okay. Um, yeah, that's where I'm going with that one. But we got to assume we got to play with the narrative. All right, they're going after Maddie. They don't get to Kaylee yet because remember they gotta step over Maddie's body to get to Kaylee, right? Kaylee's on the other end. She's supposed to be in between the wall and Maddie. I mean, a struggle like that could place that sheaf where it is on top of blood splats and then add new blood splat. So it's impossible to say that it was staged anymore now that we know that there is some droplets on top of it. Because if an officer did try to, stage it after the fact and try to match up the blood splat, they're never going to match it up correctly. They're going to know that there was extra dripping instead of a cast off. They'll be able to tell the difference. So we can now rule out officers planting the sheaf. We can rule it out. But can we rule it out if it belongs to Brian or Kaylee? That part we can't. Alright, so their investigation, they should have been able to do that, and they have not been able to rule out who actually owns the sheaf. So, but thanks to Pavarotti going over this with a fine-tooth comb, okay, and a microscope, which no other content creator has. So thank you. We can now see that, and you guys can go to my channel to see Seagirl. So it says this is from Seagirl TikTok. Okay, looking at ducks. But I'm gonna put, I'm gonna change this to Kaylee's knife to make it easier for you guys, and then put this is from TikTok. Or you guys give me a title while we're talking. Okay. Thank you for being here. Good morning. Good morning, Kate. Good morning, Amy. Thank you for being here. Good morning, Kaylin. I get like Y sounds like all kinds of stuff. So if I hope I say your name right. So if I haven't, here. If I have not said your name right, I'm gonna nickname you Kaylin. Just bear with me. Okay, and I always call her Kate. Makes my life easier, and she's wonderful about it. Keeping it short. Your name is Amy. Okay, so don't get mad at me. Okay, thank you, Stacy, for being here. Okay, and Tony, thank you for being here. And let me get with Kate here real quick. Kate had said something here that's, a very good question. Maybe Maddie owned the sheaf. So what if Maddie owned the sheaf as well? If she owned her own? All right, so here's the thing. They are into camping, which we'll have to start showing you their screenshots from TikTok. They're into camping a lot. They have campers. A majority of their photographs, especially for summer, is going to lakes and stuff like that. They also go to events, RV events, fan life events. Um, I didn't see anything for Dylan doing that, but Bethany's big in that. So just wanted to make sure you all know. So I do know that Bethany would not miss Scully Palooza, the Burning Man, especially anything that has to do with her sorority. When they go on their trips, so she won't miss any of that. She's just not one to do that. So, all right, let me see what you got here. All right, I've always thought the girls must have had a kind of weapon at the ready for protection in their rooms. Yeah, and I agree. Did you guys know that in the very beginning of this whole case, that news stations, the legit ones, reported the fact that every door had padlocks on it? Every single door. Even their bedrooms, they all had padlocks on it. We're going to get into this too, because I'm going to prove to you that the see, this is all it's not. Yeah, very much. Kate, you're right. Hold on. I think I'm paused. Frozen. Yes, changes may be made, not be saved. Or cancel. Hold on, guys. Okay, I apologize. I have a glitch. Sorry about that. Yeah, they're into the knives. They are collecting them. This is something that they like. They're very much into environmental projects and fun stuff, like learning how to throw axe, learning how to hunt, um, using different weapons, not just for safety purposes, but for activities purposes or even competitions. That's something that we haven't noticed or gotten into. So when I take a trip to Idaho, I'm going to visit the Axe Club and a few of the clubs. And I may not get any information about them being there, but I did put out screenshots of Dylan being there. And to find those again in my backup, I don't know where it is. But I did try to check my community post, but I don't remember where I put it. Oh, I have a video. Okay, so I left this here so we can look for this reference. And I'm hoping also that any of the bigger content creators that are watching my stuff will find it. Put it out first. I don't care. It helps us all out, please. All right. I'm gonna undo this one. I don't need to follow through on this. Okay. Next would be hold on. Next will be Pavarotti. And then we're gonna go over the locks. Which one is Pavarotti? Oh my god. What do I do? Okay, here we go. That's gotta be it. No. Okay, here we go. So next is Pav. Now he's going to go over the little blood spots here, and then how it does match up on what's above here. But they're trying to say that the sweat ended up in here. Now first they did say that it was on the snaps until we started fighting that, hey, wait a minute, what the snaps are made of a certain material, and any type of DNA, it doesn't matter what it is, will not last any longer than 6 to 7 days. So if they didn't catch it in all that time of them investigating this thing, they would have never caught it if it was the snap itself. So they ended up moving to the fact that they got it off the belt of, but not this particular part, that probably the inside of the belt, I believe, and maybe off the sides here. I don't know, but you guys tell me. But it's possible to have gotten some type of sweat because of exertion. So you're stabbing how many times to this person and they're not going down? You're stabbing how many times to the other person, but you have to struggle. There's 2 people in the bed and not 1. The perp knows if there's 2 people in the bed or not. He's not being surprised, because if there's no way him hiding in the closet, because there's no closet door and there's no room in the closets. But for him to have walked in, he would have already seen that the girls are in the same room. So he would have already been ready to handle 2 females. But if you look at the frame, we're going to get back to the knife. But if you look at this frame, it's a very lightweight, easy to take down frame. This is a frame put in by the landlord. The landlord probably gave them a mattress for it. It came to them furnished, because if the landlords are setting the rooms up to be a certain way, they would give it to it furnished, because they don't want them to come in with too much stuff, or come in and make the room not look livable. And a lot of students don't even have money or have their own bed, their own desk, or anything like that. So these usually come furnished. Every room, whether they have a headboard or not, has this type of framing. Maybe not Dylan's room, which seemed to have something different because she has a headboard. But who knows if a headboard did come with hers, or she was able to connect a headboard. But these guys not having a headboard. So let's think about the screenshots that were given to us about Maddie's room and Kaylee's room, and they all have headboards. So right now I don't have Maddie's room screenshot ready, but does anybody remember when looking at her room, did she have a headboard? And this is before the incident. This will be photographs of her sitting at her desk in her room. I would keep an eye out for that, because Kaylee has a headboard. Whether it's connected to the wall or the bed, she has a headboard. Dylan has one. The 2 beds downstairs don't show a headboard for the 2 rooms, downstairs, whether it's Bethany or the spare. But I would keep an eye out, because now these photographs are all coming out, okay, of their time in that house, when they were all alive, when none of this happened. So keep an eye out on that, because what I do remember is Maddie having a headboard, not a wall for a headboard. What I'm not even sure if this even would match up in some of her pictures of this being her bed frame. But I listen. I can't say that I'm right until I wait for those pictures to come out. I know they're going to come out because when you're setting up your room and you're all excited, new place, everything, you take pictures of everything. You also do that before you move in and after you move out so that you get your deposit back. Okay. So I just want to make sure I put that out there. Now, let's go back to Pavs and we're going to play. Now, I did mention earlier that this sheaf, whether put here or not, okay, because Pav looked right into this for us, we can tell that these blood spots are on top. However, because we have Dr. Turvey and another analyst, which we're going to talk about, not agreeing that this is a part of the scene, okay? Not at all talking about the blood on top. And I think it's because there's also blood directly but the cast off is exactly the same underneath, not just on top of the sheaf. It's the exact same underneath. Now, the only thing I can think of as a visual designer is that the sheaf wasn't here yet during the unaliving of Maddie. The sheaf would have ended up here because of the struggle for Kaylee, and that's if Kaylee was actually on the bed, or during the struggle with Maddie, or placing Maddie here. It happened in between the incident. So you'll have the first incident, and then you have a second incident. And that's what I'm going to call it, okay? So it would still have the same cast-offs as the first incident. And then it would end up on top of here. As this is laying right on top of the first incident, what's on top of the sheaf is the second. Which means whomever they were unaliving wasn't going down, was still getting up. Or possible second person in the bed. Even though we don't see enough evidence of two individuals in this bed. But then it brings me back to the fact that with this scene itself, it may not be an original scene. This may be a stage scene for remember, they're getting a stage ready for the movie. I mean, they're writing books and everything. They're reenactment staging. So, however, the bloodstains do look normal. They don't look staged. I am just kind of concerned if she had a headboard or not. And that would determine if this is a staging or not, or if this is original. I'm only confused because they are creating a stage. They've been creating a stage from day one. So before Brian ever had this so-called trial with Judge, that's when they were putting together their production. please forgive me. So it all started off with writers trying to make money off of Amazon on this story. Then it started evolving into starting to copy and create this story. So then you had 3D animators like me and someone else, and and Gray Hughes, giving the production companies everything that they need in order to create the house. They already knew they were going to create this movie. And just like they already knew that they were going to convict Brian in any way possible before Brian ever got a fair trial. Out there. But let's listen. All right, let me see. Hold on. So Kate says, yes, Bubbly's video shows bedspread changed and made into Xana's room, and they use different color sheets. Well, I would expect that, especially seasonal. I do that all the time too. But what I'm interested in is, did she have a headboard? What did her bed frame look like? That's what I'm interested in. Because I need to understand how this happened. Hold on. Just bear with me. I really need to understand this. And they never redacted their information when it comes to this padlock. Where did you put it? Oh my goodness. I got this. It should be here. Give me a minute. And then we're going to watch the pub. What could it be? It's just interesting. Oh, here we go. Interesting when I can't find something. It's like, what? Now, give me a second. You heard my voice, right? Give me a minute. I have too many windows open, so let me get rid of Seagirl since we're done with her. All right. Okay. And the more windows I have open, the more broadband I'm going to end up losing. Give it to me. Give me the money. Okay, and this news station isn't the first news station that covered the padlocks. So I'm going to watch it again. Maybe I misunderstood. That every door had combination locks on it. And they did not recount this video. They didn't take it off of YouTube. Excuse my voice, but we just got a deal. I got a little baby squeaky voice, and that's just how it's going down. YouTube to recount it, and Xana's dad, I didn't realize it was Xana's dad, is the one that fixed dad looks like. I know what Maddie's.
Students have electronic locks like this. A former tenant posted this photo and says all 6 bedrooms had combination locks. It's believed the students had a lock on their door similar to this. This is a keypad lock, and I'm at AAA Architectural Hardware in Manhattan with Richard Brown, who is the owner. Are these things reliable?
They're very reliable when they're installed properly and when they're used properly. You press the code that was pre-programmed in, push down on the lever handle, open the door, and then close the door behind you. And it should be locked.
Okay. Hold on, let me bring it back. Let me bring it back to that, okay? Now, I'll tell you why all the doors had a padlock. It's a party house, guys. They don't have regular doorknobs. And this is their big mistake. This is why I believe that a lot that we're seeing, because we're not seeing the padlocks, we're seeing regular doors. We're not even seeing locks for their doors, guys. What we're seeing is what looks like a normal house, a family house, where you could just walk in if you want, knock on the door, open the door. There is no locks, inside or outside, to keep anybody from going into those rooms. It is a party house. It is a sorority house. They're renting their rooms. Every room should have their own padlock. Has anybody ever lived in an apartment complex um, where the landlord is renting out the rooms in the apartment? Now, I've seen it because of my baby's dad. And I would say Allentown, Pennsylvania is the first time I've ever seen anything like that, okay? But they have it everywhere. Just I wasn't privy to it. But I would go visit him to bring our babies to go see their daddy. And each of their doors have their own locks. They have a padlock and a regular lock to keep anybody from going into their room when they leave. That's their apartment. The house isn't the apartment. It's just the house you get to use. You can use the kitchen, the living room, um, the area, the living area. But your bedrooms are your apartment. So every room should have had a lock. Now, I know a lot of you guys don't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole because that's not what they're showing you. Can you imagine living in a house with revolving doors? You never know what's in your house. People are coming in and out of your living space, able to walk in your room while you're at work or at school 24 hours a day, and tell me you're not going to have a lock on your door? These kids may seem like friends, and I know they put it in front of us as if they're all best friends, they all hang out. No, they're roommates. Yes, they chose each other to be roommates because they got along. There is a friendship there, but they don't all hang out together. They don't all have the same circle of friends. And as we've seen in the interview, whoever hangs out with Bethany doesn't know so-and-so that well, right? Or whoever hangs out with Dylan doesn't know so-and-so that well. Or who hangs out with Xana doesn't know so-and-so that well. And how many people in the interviews who know Kaylee very well but don't know Maddie? See? So what they're trying to show you is that it is a family thing. Now, if the perpetrator is going through the rooms to go and unalive individuals, there's no locks on the doors? How come they didn't go into Dylan's room or Bethany's room? There's no locks on the doors. Look at the pictures. There's supposed to be locks. It doesn't matter if it's a combination lock or it should be something. This is what tells me that the photographs they're giving us is a reenactment in a house it's not the original house. Yeah, we got the outside photos. We got a few of the inside. Okay, then that's only, I noticed they're only screenshots from body cams. They're not even the regular pictures. And then maybe some of the pictures. The ones from the cell phone that doesn't come out very well. None of the professional photographs. Remember, I was picking on that. Inappropriate. And I've been into photography and photography art, like most of my life. I did 2 years of black and white photography art, wedding photography. Including editing. Like I was doing that as my second job. So I had my cleaning service, and my second job was photography. I loved them both because I was able to make my own schedule, and I was able to work it out, whether I had to do a house in the morning and then photography in the evening. I was able to work it around being a single mother. That's why I chose that. It was very easy to work with. I didn't have to worry about losing my job because I had to leave because one of my kids threw up all over the place or something, or got kicked out of school, or unalived a kindergartner. Okay, just putting it out there. But the struggles of being a single mom, oh my Lord. But I needed a way of being able to control my own hours. So I have been self-employed my whole life, most of my life. I have worked for companies here and there, so I did get all my credits, but I was mostly an entrepreneur because I could pick my own hours. I'm used to that. I can't work for somebody full time or a company full time because they drain the life out of you and you don't get paid. Um, you have people who want your position, so they'll do their best to discredit you in some way to get your position or to keep you from rising in a position. It's just as bad as YouTube streets, trust me. And I do better on my own, seriously. But I want to bring this to your attention, guys. And I need you guys to start paying attention to this. Combination locks makes everybody's life easier. You don't need a key to get in. I'm sure that they place their emergency key somewhere. But you just put in your code and you open the door. Okay? And you can lock it from the other side. How come the perp couldn't get into her room? Why? Because you think she just used a regular doorknob lock? And because it was locked, they didn't bother trying to kick it in. I mean, really think about that. Why would a news station? Okay, and it's not even just a news station. The men who used to live here know that every door had their own locks. Before the boys even gave it to the girls, every door had a lock like this. It may have been smaller, because there are smaller models, and I went over those. But every single door had a padlock on it. When you were listening to some of the stories before any evidence came out for what happened in that house, who had to fix the lock on Xana's door? They weren't talking about the front door. No, the only person who kept pushing that was Steve Goncalves. But the families, especially, or one of the kids, they mentioned, well, Xana had to have somebody fix her door, her lock, because not just the how many locks were messed with when they go to work and when they're in the classroom. These kids were going through a place, they were living in a place with no privacy. Yeah, Dylan even mentions they felt safer when they had Ethan there because he's a big guy, and his friends. They kept everybody out. They kept people from being able to use the house, protect their bedrooms, protect their belongings. The other thing too is, hey, where's their game consoles? Their kids, where did that go? So we're going to get into that too. So real quick, I'm going to play this one more time. These doors shouldn't just look like this at all. It should be a combination lock right here. There should be another lock for the inside so that you can protect yourself on the inside, or this locks automatically. Who knows? But it wouldn't matter if they came in and out of their room. As long as they remember their code, they can get in and out of their, whether the door shuts on them or not. They shouldn't be able to lock themselves out unless they're dumb and stupid and fucking forget their code. It doesn't have to be as big as the one that they're showing you, because there's smaller versions. And if they did not have that lock system, they should have had a padlock up here. Okay? Not just a regular door lock, because you could just put a credit card through the fucking door thing and open it. This is an apartment, not a bedroom. An apartment. And that's what people keep
had combination locks. It's believed the students had a lock on their door similar to this. This padlock, and I'm at A Architectural Hardware in Manhattan with Richard Brown, the owner.
When they're used properly. You press the code that was pre-programmed in, push down on the lever handle, open the door, and then close the door behind you. And it should be locked.
Okay. I will find more of this. Okay. Where are we? I will find more of that, because there is more about them having a padlock on there, and it's a smaller version than what the man was showing you. Now, if the battery runs out, what happens is it doesn't lock anymore. This is so that you can get in and out. There's also an emergency keyhole to it, and it should be black, not silver. At least the only one, the smaller version that I was able to find was black. However, there could be a silver one. So I will look at what have experience when they're around blood, okay? That something's not right about the scenes. Something's not right. Now, this is the only reason why we are questioning, hey, how are two people in this room? You're saying that these wounds happen in this room, but where's all the blood? Let me see. I'm reading what you guys have. Hold on. We are made to say that they're bedrooms. They are apartments. They should be treated as apartments. The landlord is renting them each room for how much money? As apartments, as a studio apartment room. Okay? Which means by law, they have to provide a lock for their room, for their apartment. So here's hoping that the content creators that don't have a fucking baby voice will help me over here. Okay? I give you guys gold constantly, and you know it. The problem is I don't sound like this. We're going to go back to pop. Just give me a minute. So if I sound like these type of content creators, let's see, channel. Let me see this one. This one. This one. There we go. If I sound like this, or like Bronx Tale, 10 to Life, I mean, the list goes on. You guys wouldn't be treating me as if I don't know what the fuck I'm saying.
Sheath and about the crime scene in general. And so he was going to testify, and he seems he's great. Like he's very, I'm sure he presents very well. I mean, he was great on Joe's show.
Okay, so before we go on to that, she's going to be talking about the chief as well. So I still have to allow us to hear Pavarotti. But I figure we're going to listen to her. But if I had the voice, or you guys possibly would say the personality, you would take my channel more seriously. I would have been attacked a whole lot less. I would be monetized, all kinds of like I would have had a real chance here on YouTube, not just a big subscriber list and nothing to show for it. I would have been able to afford enough time to give you the content in the way that is expected. With enough support, I would have been able to afford the programs in order to give you the content that's expected. But I unfortunately have to do it raw. And no matter what anybody says, I know it's the voice. But here we go. Because it doesn't matter what this woman says, regardless of her credentials, it's the voice. And don't make me go find all the other voices, okay? All the other channels. Because there are women with no credentials whatsoever, talk out of their fucking ass, have no clue what the fuck they're saying, but it sounds good. You don't even realize that, hey, they're off their rocker. Why? Because they have an adult voice. So, either way, that's just how I damn well feel, okay?
So he would have been, I think, a really, really interesting witness. I didn't know what to expect seeing him on video because I saw some of his pictures online, and he looked very like intense and serious. I'm like, oh, I wonder what this guy is like. Now seeing that, I'm like, he would have been a great witness. Like he would have testified really well, I believe. And again, that was from True Crime with the Sarge. I hope Joe's cool with me using that. Here's the sheath. Okay, this is the photo from the crime lab. And one thing that I've corrected, because this is what we were told, and this is what it said in documents, but it's not true, right? I don't know how many times I've said to you guys on here, because this is what was written in filings when all we had.
See, now imagine me just talking like that. Okay? I talk like this all the time, but it's the voice. So here. She talks in a circle, just like I do. But you miss it. You don't notice it because of her assertive voice.
Online, and he looked very like intense and serious. I'm like, oh, I wonder what this guy is like. Now seeing that, I'm like, he would have been a great witness. Like he would have testified really well, I believe. And again, that was from True Crime with the Sarge. I hope Joe's cool with me using that. Here's the sheath. Okay, this is the photo from the crime lab.
There you go. Here's the sheath. This is the photo from the crime lab. You hear the difference? It doesn't flow from me like it does for women who are or have more of a mature voice and face. Yeah, I do suffer from that too.
And one thing that I've corrected, because this is what we were told, and this is what it said in documents, but it's not true, right? I don't know how many times I've said to you guys on here, because this.
Here we go. Because it's not true, right? I don't know how many times I said this to you guys over here, and how many times I put it out. Like, oh my god! All right, I think I got my example out. I do wish I had a more mature voice. I also wish I had a mature face. Yeah, I'm just power of the cuteness. There's no adult sexiness about me. Just power of the cuteness. Very childlike, and I think I'm every pedophile's dream, okay? I'm of age and they can have their dream at the same time. It sucks for me, okay? That's why I'm not in a good relationship ever. And I'm a lonely woman. Still, like if I go out dating, I'm still finding that young men, too young, okay, probably old enough to be my kid, are asking me out on a fucking date. Nobody my age and nobody older. Only young men. I'm like, oh my god, why you gotta be in your 20s? I'm robbing the cradle, motherfucker. Stop it. And they're hot too at the same time. It's pretty bad. For me, it's been bad. Even when I was younger, I still couldn't find somebody my age. I had teenagers walking up to me. It's bad, okay? It's not good. I don't care what anybody says that I'm lucky and whatnot. No, go shove that up your booty hole. Okay? I'm so upset. God did not bless me. It is a curse. It's not nice. It is a lonely motherfucking life. Okay, here we go.
This is what was written in filings when all we had were court documents to go by. That the documents we had pre-trial, which is all we had, there was a gag order. Nobody would talk to us. We couldn't get any information from anybody. Said that the DNA on the knife sheath that belonged to Brian Koberger, his DNA, was on the female part of the knife sheath. So that would be under the snap. Well, now we know from the records we're getting from Idaho State Police and from the lab and things of that nature. We know for certain they didn't swab the top of the button, right? We knew they didn't do that because they wanted the fingerprint section to examine that for fingerprints. So that was never swabbed. But it was always stated it was on the female part of the snap. Well, now we're reading and learning from lab reports that they actually swabbed the leather part of the strap. So if you can look very close.
Okay, but here's the thing. That was so fucking obvious. Okay, a monkey fucking would have known this a long motherfucking time ago. Oh, Jesus Christ. Phlegmy. Had a little milk, makes phlegm. Yay! Alright. We have already gone over this like a million times. The property, the material of the snap, you won't get no kind of DNA. However, you possibly could get a fingerprint. So we know that they didn't test the snap itself for sweat or DNA. We went over that. We already assumed that they would have gone in between the snap. It would only be like fucking obvious. Okay? But here's a woman who has credentials and how many other guilters, okay, went with that and go, well, they found it right on the snap of the sheet. It was right, like it must have happened when he was taking unsnapping his thing, and yeah, I mean, how many? We all had to fight to let people know it's impossible, and the only way they would get any sort of DNA is if it seeps behind the snap. Now the sweat, okay, it has to be fucking heavy, okay, for it to get behind that snap. The only thing that's going to seep behind that snap is blood. So I want to put that out to you all as well. So if they're trying to say that they had sweat DNA or a touch DNA, because that's the first thing they say is touch DNA. You cannot get touch DNA underneath that snap. You cannot get sweat DNA underneath that snap unless it is up against the body while you're sweating, or you are sweating proportionally. I mean, you're sweating right on top of the whole damn thing. It is not that easy to get sweat in between the sheath. Okay, in between these here buttons, regardless of female or male. So I'm quite certain that the experts were probably going to sit there and yell about that. But from the very beginning, we already knew it's impossible for what they had said. This tells you that they're not fully trained. When they put this story out, they didn't use real trained individuals to help them with the narrative in which that they were delivering to us in the beginning. Okay, but here we are. Don't listen to the girl with the baby voice. She sounds like a child. She don't know nothing. And because I sound young, it seems like I don't have the credentials to say what I'm saying, but I do. Just not a doctor. I could have been.
Closely at this exhibit or this photograph. It's really a photograph from the crime lab, from the DNA section. You'll see it says area swabbed, and there's a purple line around it, or a box that just denotes that, yes, this is the area swabbed. And it shows that they swabbed the leather around there. There's really no mention of the underside of the snap. So the DNA, I'm assuming that they're referring to, and they said it was single source male, was on the leather strap, not on the snap, as we had been told before. So Dr. Turvey was going to testify that the sheath was staged, and we'll get to that in a moment. There was going to be an expert for the state who testified that no, it wasn't necessarily staged, meaning planted. And I don't even think Dr. Turvey was going to testify that law enforcement did it. It sounded like, in reading these reports, that he was going to say that somebody else put it there, the sheath, which is very interesting. And you'll hear why I believe he was going to say that here shortly. So this is Paulette Sutton. She's a blood spatter expert, and she was going to testify for the state, and she was going to be the state's expert. And I think she would have been a good witness too. She would have been a real charmer. So I want to play just a minute or so of Paulette Sutton speaking and see what you guys think about her.
That was where I really got interested in bloodstain pattern analysis. I was actually hired to analyze the stains and say what type it was, who this stain belongs to. Well, the movie where the dog says, "Squirrel," that's me. Squirrel. Well, can I do more with this? Not just whose blood's there, but how did the blood become there? How did this happen? What happened in between? All these other things that I can learn. And when I would go out to a crime scene, I would see the blood and I'm like, okay, collect it and analyze it later in the lab. How did this happen? How did this get here? And that's what made me want to study bloodstain pattern analysis and learn about how to do this. We had to, of course, document the scenes, and we had to collect evidence while we were out there. So that's another aspect of what we had to do. Then we talked to the police officers. That's part of our job. One of my favorite parts of this was when a police officer was investigating a case and he had certain ideas, or perhaps a suspect had told him certain things have happened or didn't happen, whatever. And I could pick that apart. I could say, yes, that is true. That's supported by the evidence. Or no, that's not true. We talked this morning about the only thing that will never lie to you is the physical evidence. It's always telling you the truth. You've simply got to learn how to read that evidence.
And that's basically what Pavarotti was saying as well. You have to learn how to read the blood splatter and understand that in order to know exactly what happened in the house. Where did it go down first? And then where did it end up? My only issue, hold on, before we go on to this lady, my only issue is how does it line up? So we'll go over that in a minute.
Reports. Some of them, some of this, and I'm also going to pull up the sheath, guys. I'm
sorry, she takes a long fucking time. So I get it why people fast forward. But again, if you fast forward too much, you can miss something really important.
And that's going to be important based on what I am going to show you. So I'm just giving you fair warning. These are redacted photos. So this is the sheath on the bed.
Let me see where I'm at.
And
hold on. Make sure that, because I noticed something. This makes things a little small, so hold on. So now, I don't like it when content creators give us a little tiny ass fucking window. Okay? So, here's a woman with education I can only dream of, okay? And this is her educational level right here. Okay, so like, it does bother me. A lot of content creators put a little too much. They'll have their face here, tiny ass motherfucking box, and then they'll put their chat room all over here on the side here. Oh, hold on. Yeah, hold on. They'll put their chat room all the way over fucking here. Okay, all over the. So you're looking at the scene, but you got all these fucking words in front of it. Sorry, it bothers me. I get that you want to see their face, but you don't need to. So move your fucking, what do you call it, in front, okay, or get it off the screen. Enlarge your subject. There are people who have cell phones, okay, or not on the laptop, not on the fucking TV watching you. They're on their fucking cell phones. And then when you're on your little ass motherfucking screen, you can't fucking see nothing. All right, sorry, I get really upset, so I just kind of lose my mind a little bit. But I do try my best to keep my tone down. I do. But I'm just putting it out there. Please, content creators, stop this. Thank you. Okay. So I do apologize. I believe that I had accidentally done the exact same thing. See? There you go. Look. Nice tiny little window. If you got to put your fucking face here, put it down here in the fucking corner. Okay? This? No. What the fuck is that? This? What the fuck is that? Cell phones, people. Cell phones. Okay? This is okay. You see where I'm going with this? And there you go. You can hear my motherfucking voice. You don't need to see my motherfucking face or my avatar. How about that? I apologize. I get a little bit lippy, because these content creators do this, and it drives me up the craziness. I get they have to, make it look more unique. Well, there's ways of doing that too. Make a PowerPoint, put some pictures around it, give it a frame, okay? Give it some effects. All right, don't yell at me. I'm just a messenger. Okay.
You can see it's kind of tucked. It's almost like it's under the comforter. I don't know why it's like that, but that's how it is. Here's another one. Here's another view. I'm just making sure you guys can all see this. And then I'm giving you a good enough view of it. And if you watched Crime Fix, I'm sure you saw this.
Oh my God, she's creating it out.
This appears to me that...
Wow, she did it. Yippee! Oh, fucking A, man. Move your fucking picture down to the bottom here or the top. Make this a little larger. Hello, people have fucking cell phones. Thank you.
Maybe the comforter has been pulled back. So it could be photographed, but the sheath is face down. So it's not face up with the K-Bar USMC symbol stamped on it. It's face down.
Ooh, tell them like it is. Oh.
And that's kind of interesting to me. I have my own feelings about how and why that is like that. To me, somebody going up there to use this item would possibly pull it out, and if you're carrying it and you don't have it on your belt loop, you may unsheath the weapon and then place this item down. That's my thought. And if you are...
And my thought is, what a dumbass motherfucker if that's true. Come on now. If a perpetrator has his knife sheath on him, it will be strapped to his motherfucking ass, okay? It be strapped. It won't be a knife sheath that's easily ripped off either. There's no struggle with that knife sheath whatsoever. Okay, why is he walking around and not have it strapped on a belt of some sort? Unsnap that thing, okay, and handle business. And then leave it right there on his way out the door like he actually forgot. Come on now. This is proof that this knife sheath belongs to the girls, not the perpetrator. Hello. So when we go to Pav really put out something interesting that brought some beautiful light to the whole situation. Thank you, Pavarotti. But let's look at what a mature voice and a mature woman says that apparently has books behind her in order to look like she has the credentials to fucking talk. Oh, she does. My bad. She has credentials. Believe it or not.
Surprised by Xana coming up after she's hearing whatever, or the dog comes down to get her, or what have you.
And they continue pushing the fact that Xana's the one running up and down the stairs. The blood cast off on the wall would be somebody that ran into a weapon. Okay? The individual coming around the corner or waiting on the corner there as the other individual is running forward, either heading towards Xana's room for protection because there's a man in there, or trying to head towards the stairwell. And I would think heading towards Xana's room because there's a man in there that can help protect them, instead of thinking about the stairwell. So then the perp can come from that hallway, hiding there, right from the wall area there, smash her face in, basically hit her, surprise her as she's coming forward. Poof. So basically she never even seen it coming. and then do it again. So as they're moving this particular weapon, which cannot be a revolver, it can't be a gun. It has to be more of a swinging type item, especially if it's going to cast off to the next, across, the steps there. It has to be something like a golf club or a bat. And the only person that could be running up and down the stairs that apparently had her face caved in is Kaylee. So there's no Xana running up and down the stairs and running to her room where her man has already been unalived, okay? Already been taken. Come on now. There's no blood cast for Xana besides that little spot on the floor there next to the Scentsy lights. The pretty lights, not the Scentsy light. What do they call those things? And a glass table that never broke. Oh, I swear to God, my mind is losing it. I'm just losing my mind. Here we go.
And she comes up. And you forget the sheath because you're like, what the heck's going on? And you're surprised by more.
That's their way of explaining why forget the sheath. Hello, he never did, or she never did. It belongs to Kaylee. It belongs to Maddie. It belongs to them. The only thing that probably had happened here is that the perp was playing with the knife while waiting, was going through their stuff, possibly handled it. Picking up their underwear and smelling it, okay? And putting it back in the drawer. Noticing, oh, look at this pretty little knife sheath. And with a knife. Possibly use that knife on them. But it doesn't belong to the perp. Because if it belonged to the perp, he would already been all set up with the sheath attached to them. Just so you know.
Than one person in this bed, and that just things don't go according to plan, in air quotes, then things get crazy.
Yeah, things didn't go according to their plan because they weren't supposed to take Kaylee out, and somebody there didn't know that was Kaylee coming by, and boom, surprised her. Okay. Then it took them some time to figure out what they're supposed to do because they have to talk to the boss first and let the boss know, hey, we kind of screwed up here. What do we do? So then the boss has to put it all together. And who is the boss? Okay. I still feel, in my humble opinion, in my opinion only, with no facts whatsoever, however, facts is all over the place, that Steve knows. I feel Steve had to make an executive decision on it's too late to save his daughter. I believe they took some time, if it isn't Steve, it's somebody, okay, to make a decision to finish Kaylee off or get her to a hospital and try to save her life. It was one or the other. Something happened here. But she wasn't supposed to be attacked. It was a surprise attack. That's what that cast off over the stairwells looked like to me. To me, as a visual designer. But we'll go over that.
And I hate to say that because any talk of a plan just is like really sad. I mean, these are people's kids and sisters and siblings. So you see the sheath right there. Face down. There is like spatter on the sheath on the back. And there are other photos from the crime lab that show that. You can almost see a little bit of that if you look down by the hand.
And now I'm understanding why Pav is able to push his videos out like fucking Skittles. He's watching the channels we're not watching. The ones with really high followers. The ones that are not trying to control the narrative for who's innocent and who's guilty, or control the panel or the algorithm. Love you, Pop, but I'm learning. I have been following the wrong people. Would be nice if you make a playlist. I think he did. Love to check it out.
The loop.
Oh, I started creating a playlist as well of the channels that I think you should watch regardless of what they say or feel. You need to observe both sides, just like Pav has even mentioned to us, because there might be information we're missing because we are biased. We have to make sure we are not biased. Okay? There's too many people going, he's innocent, innocent, innocent. Possible information. Pop did say that, and it's right.
So let's take
Taking it down
of the sheet at the crime. Okay, so let's get into the reports now. A slash, I guess, like summaries of the reports. And I don't think I need to put it up on the screen, but Kaylee's autopsy was performed on November 16th at 4:50 p.m. Her cause of death was multiple sharp force injuries, and significant contributors to her death were blunt force injuries of the head and asphyxial injuries. And there were significant findings that include stabbed and incised wounds of the scalp, face, and neck, and there were more than 24 of those. Stab and incised wounds of the chest. So an incised wound, you who may not be familiar, is a not a knob. There were 3 of the
if they don't like the fact that that person looks better than them or is attracting their man, okay, and their man is looking at them, it takes a bit for a man to want to just slash a woman's face. I mean, they would literally had to do something to that man to make them want to disfigure them. And I'm not saying that they wouldn't. I'm not saying it wouldn't come across a man to do that to a female, especially if they're obsessed with them and they don't want somebody else to have them. I'm not saying that that won't go down, but females are worse when it comes to jealousy.
But she had injuries, as we knew, to her teeth and tongue, perforations to the subclavian artery, which is in this area, and then
the tongue area, teeth and tongue. Is that because of the impact to the face, or did they cut her tongue out? Okay, so yeah, I gotta do some reading, don't I? But the problem is they're not giving us. They want to cover this whole thing for views and everything, but they're not giving us the facts or the information. Or at least it was nice of her to tell us what an inside wound is. Thank you so much.
She had blunt force injuries to her head, scrapes on her nose and cheeks. So
was it the back of the head or the front of the head? See, we gotta look at that. Then we would know if the blunt force trauma was because she was surprised as coming forward, or she was hit trying to run away. You get it? I know, I gotta read. I know, go read the report.
Blunt force injuries to me makes me think of, was she punched? Was the potentially the butt of this, or the handle of this knife used to subdue her in some fashion because she awoke? There were petechial hemorrhages present in her eyes and mouth. And that happens when you asphyxiate. And there was a...
Yeah, we get that information from, experts. Hello. All right. So she's getting into what she thinks may have happened in the bed, but not covering what happened in the hallway, in the living room, on the stairwell, on the second floor.
Evidence that, she did have these asphyxial injuries, and that's likely, I'm assuming, from the injury.
Or some of the things we were seeing outside. Hello.
She suffered to different, her chest, her veins, things of that nature. And her blood alcohol concentration was 0.107. So, 0.08 is when you're driving drunk. If they pull you over and you blow a 0.08, you're legally drunk. She was a 0.107. Maddie's...
Let's stop there. Hold on, wait a minute. What was I saying? Why was the bitch on the phone everywhere that her and Maddie went? Okay, we're moving right in on the blood, on the alcohol level up in here. And she's not drunk? Yeah, she's stumbling around like she was doing it, okay? Like she was drinking away. And she wasn't drunk? She still can drive a car? Yeah, she's stumbling away, though. I was drinking. I was doing my thing. And I pointed out the fact she did not even have a fucking drink in her hand at the Grubhub. Oh, no, excuse me. You can't have it there. Sorry. At the Corner Club. That's what I meant to say. At the great old Corner Club. She was sharing a drink. Like she would take a few sips out of her best friend's drink. She is buying her best friend drinks, guys. That girl has no money. No money for food. She goes and get her food. Kaylee knew exactly what was going to fucking happen that night. Whatever happened to Kaylee was an accident. If anything happened to her. Okay? But here we go. Let's check out Maddie's alcohol level. Listen, she talks better than I do. That's the only reason why I'm using it. Thank you so much. There you go. Okay? I will leave a link. Oh, and if I didn't leave a link, it's in my playlist. I made sure they all had their own little playlist. Yes, I did. Okay.
BAC, just so you're aware, because they had said in prior reports that Maddie her intoxication level was such that she would not have been able to fight back. They were going to have an expert testify to that.
Damn! What did Open Mind Perspectives tells you? Yeah. Hello. Let's see what y'all are thinking about. What channel has got your back? Me. Okay? Learn to enjoy my Mickey Mouse voice, because I'm the one that's got your back. I can prove to you right now, just from what we saw, just what I showed you. Rewind, okay? Do the replay. Don't not do the replay just because this is a long live event. Do the replay. Because I just proved to you 100% that Kaylee already knew what was going to happen to her best friend. I just proved to you that Kaylee's family is something to worry about. And the only other person who can help me prove this even more is Sammy Davis. Because she did have a lot to say, but she can't say nothing anymore, can she? Otherwise, she'll be homeless or dead or disappeared. Nobody knows her. Nobody will be publicizing her death or her disappearance in any way, fashion, or form. It's called human trafficking. Don't think that a parent can't human traffic their own motherfucking children. Because my mother was like that. It is the only reason why I can recognize Steve G for who he is because heard that. Let me know, because I cut it and keep cutting out. I don't know why. The reason why I can recognize for who he truly is because of my own mother. My own experience as a child, just from my own mom. I know exactly how my mom would have acted, the decisions she would have made, especially if there was an accident to her own child. Do you think she's going to get revenge for her own child's death? It was an accident. She's the whole reason why her child's dead. No, she has to make an executive decision so that they could be a part of the victim list instead of the suspect list. Put it out there. Yes, record what I just said. Because I ain't done. We're not gonna get all to it this morning on this live event, but bear with me, I'm breaking it down. I am breaking it down. Let's do it one more time.
Sorry, she's 0.228 or 0.282. I apologize. Pardon me. She's more than 3 times the legal limit. I was reading you Xana's there for a moment. Sorry about that.
Hold on.
Was 0.229.
Hold on.
And that happens when you asphyxiate. And there was evidence that, she did have these asphyxial injuries, and that's likely, I'm assuming, from the injuries she suffered to different, her chest, her veins, things of that nature.
Okay, now we're getting to the point. Hold on.
And her blood alcohol concentration was 0.107. So, 0.08 is when you're driving drunk. If they pull you over and you blow a 0.08, you're legally drunk. She was a 0.107. Maddie's.
It's not that bad. She's there. She's tipsy. She's tipsy. But, want to make sure I correct myself. Because I think the way I spoke, I may have said she wasn't drunk, but please, she's drunk, but I think she could still drive. I'm not really sure of that type of alcohol blood level kind of thing, and I'm not an expert, but a lot of Kaylee's alcohol consumption. So, which tells me
BAC, just so you're aware, because they had said in prior reports that Maddie her intoxication level was such that she would not have been able to fight back. They were going to have an expert testify to that. And Maddie's BAC was 0.229. So that is almost 3 times the legal limit. So that's why when they, I had
See, that's my point. Okay, just so Kaylee was only at 0.07. Okay, but hello. It's impossible to have too much cast off from Maddie. So Maddie would have been unalived first. From what we got by that stairwell, and with the 11% or whatever percent of Maddie, tells me that the perp used the weapon that was on Maddie. So you got Maddie first. Because there's no cast off or mix when it comes to Xana or Ethan at all. There's only a mix between Maddie and Kaylee, as far as I know.
Reported that months and months ago, almost a year ago now, that they were saying in this rebuttal report that she would not have had the ability to fight back. I mean, she's almost 3 times the legal limit. Or no, I'm so sorry. She's 0.228 or 0.282. I apologize. Pardon me. She's more than 3 times the legal limit. I was reading you Xana's there for a moment. Sorry about that. Maddie had 13 of the stab and incised wounds to her face, scalp, and neck. She had wounds to her chest, and then the slashing type wounds to her upper extremities, and then some other wounds as well.
Okay, hold on. Wait a minute. If she's laying down on the bed, it is not easy to make slash marks. Please listen to me. Okay? What did she say? They're not stab marks. They're the outside wounds, slashing. That's done when that person's either is standing up in front of you and you are you're basically slapping her with a knife. Now, if the person is laying down, okay, and the perp is above looking down on the individual, you're not trying to, it's impossible to do slice motions in that way. Sorry. My coffee went down the wrong pipe hole. Hold on. So sometimes I'm drinking my coffee and I breathe it in by accident. Now I want you to imagine you're standing over a body. All right. I want you to play with your pillow, okay? I want you to lay out a body pillow. Buy one. I don't care. One that you don't care about. Or a pillow. Lay it out as if it's a body. Okay? I want you to lean over this pillow. Tell me if you can make these slash marks. Slash marks. Okay. Sorry about that. And then tell me that making slash marks in this. Okay, hold on. Let me see that. And I do apologize. For some reason, America sucks right now. Hold on. Fuck. I gotta wait for my internet to work. Give me a minute. Oh my god. Give me a second, guys. I don't know if you can still hear me. Here we go. Okay, it says, don't have space to put this bit. A warrant was served to the K bar going back in June. Blank. Pop did an extensive video. Did he do the extensive video about Kaylee owning that knife? Yeah, I didn't see his. Is he talking when he did his video for that knife? Was it about um, Brian owning it, or was it about Kaylee owning a knife? Because if what is no and what is the laughter about? Kenny, come on. I'm trying here. Okay. So when you leave a comment like that, getting a comment like this makes no sense, Kenny. So now, when Pavarotti talked about it, did he talk about Brian owning the knife or Kaylee owning the knife? Because I already covered Kaylee owning that knife. And I did it like twice. With paperwork. Okay? And I paused so everybody can get screenshot. You may have to do a replay. So hold on. Okay. No, refers to it wasn't about Kaylee. Okay. So Kenny, thank you for your comments. Make sure you take time to rewind this. And again, I was reaching out to whomever, okay? But there is documentation that Kaylee had purchased that knife with her debit card. So not only do we have evidence that Brian purchased one, but we also have evidence that he returned everything. So I did watch Pavarotti's take on that. And he did add up the purchases to the amount of return. So I'm assuming that's what you talked about, Kenny. And that was a very great video that Pavarotti has done, because he showed proof that whatever he purchased for a gift card as a gift to whomever, whatever, was all returned. That's the one that. Okay, hold on. Okay. Thank you, Kenny. Smith, thank you. Kopeka Pav, as far as I'm aware, hasn't considered Kaylee or Maddie being the owner. Yeah, okay, yeah, he hasn't. That's why I'm putting it out there. And I showed the documentation, the reference number, everything. All right. And I wasn't the one that found it. It was C Girl from TikTok that found it. All right. It wasn't. Okay. No, I appreciate that. It's just, it looked like you were saying no and then laughing. That emoji is a laughing. So I wasn't sure and I didn't understand the laughter. Okay. So make sure I don't make you feel uncomfortable, okay? All right, with Lana responding to Lana's question regarding has anyone ever? No. I don't know how many times I put out Seagirl's stuff. I even have it posted for the longest time, and nobody's covered it. Nobody even looked into it. And I don't know why, but it's the most important information possible. Okay, I appreciate your comments. Everybody, thank you. I wasn't ignoring anybody. It's just there are important things. I want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for your comments. Just want to make sure you know that I'm not ignoring you. Okay. Steve, you said Steve doesn't know, in your opinion. He knows. But I appreciate your opinion and I respect it. Thank you, Glowy. She said just made it start from the beginning. All right, so you're going to have to do a rewind. So let's finish this out because I got to go to work soon. And I do hope that you'll do a replay. I know it's a 2-hour long. But, you know, I'm using her because she speaks better than I do.
Xana, as we know, fought very hard for her life, and she had 23 wounds to her scalp, face, and neck. It's really horrible to read this stuff. We know that Xana fought. She had many, many wounds to her arms. It's just awful.
But if you go back and listen to what she said about Maddie can't have slashes unless she's fighting. So hold on, and then because she wants to focus on the Xana story because Xana just has more to talk about than Maddie, or more that they can prove compared to Maddie. So hold on.
As well. Xana, as we know, was 3 times the legal limit. Or no, I'm so sorry. She's 0.228 or 0.282. I apologize. Pardon me. She's more than 3 times the legal limit. I was reading you Xana's there for a moment. Sorry about that. Maddie had 13 of the stab and incised wounds to her face, scalp, and neck.
13. Inside wounds means it's not stab wounds. So if you rewind it, she explains what an inside wound is. Slash marks means she has a way of dodging, okay? She can fight back. Because who's slicing her? Especially if she's laying down under the covers. It doesn't make any sense. So that's why I said I want you guys to go over your pillow, pretend it's a body, and try to reenact what you're reading for Maddie. This is a girl who can't fight back. This is a girl that's going to pass out during the incident. Okay? Especially if she's already in her bed. Now, when you do that, you're actually going to prove to your own self that she was not laying in the bed when this went down. She did have a little fight in her before passing out. Nobody just stabs an individual that's sleeping in the bed. I mean, not stab, sorry, slashes their face as they're leaning over their body. Unless that individual is moving around and trying to get away and dodging that knife, or standing up in some way where that motion can happen, like somebody's just trying to slap her in the face but has the knife in their hand, probably forgot, kind of deal. Joke. That one was a dry joke. Nobody forgot nothing. But they didn't stab. It was slicing. So you have a girl laying down in the bed. You're leaning over her. You not only are you upper body heavy, you got to hold your own balance. Okay? How are you slicing? When you're in that motion, all you can do is stab down, down, up and down, up and down, up and down. There's no slashing. Okay, just want to make sure I put it out there.
She had wounds to her chest, and then the slashing type wounds to her upper extremities, and then some other wounds as well. Xana, as we know, fought very hard for her life, and she had 23 wounds to her scalp, face, and neck. It's really horrible to read this stuff. We know that Xana fought. She had many wounds to her arms. It's just awful. Xana fought hard, and we know she was up getting the DoorDash. Her BAC was 0.229, so she was almost 3 times the legal limit. Plus, she had an amphetamine level of 12, I guess, nanograms per milliliter. I don't know what that means. I can't translate that for you, but we had kind of known that she and Ethan maybe recreationally had used amphetamine. Ethan also had injuries to his scalp, face, and neck. We knew about the wounds to his lower extremities. His blood alcohol concentration was 0.122, and then he had.
All right, now hold on. Very important to talk about these infirmity. I'm not gonna say it right. Did they really do this? I can't say the words right. Recreationally, or are they trying to make it look like they did? Here's where the torture comes in, okay? They want these individuals to stay awake, be aware of what is happening to them, okay? Apparently, they couldn't get it into Maddie because Maddie is the first to go. Maddie probably already passed out. It was impossible to slip her one, okay, or make her do one. I'm sure that this is what makes it that Xana and Ethan are the last to go, including when I did the live event, which I hope it's still there, where I point out the last time we hear them at all, and when it all ends. I even show that the vehicle light shining on Jack's house, that when that light goes and Jack's house is dark again, it's over. And it's basically over by 3:15. There's nothing more. And then we do see the as if they got a bullet to the head. We see the light. And it's over. There's no more talking. There's nothing. So whatever happened to Xana and Ethan very well could have happened in their room. It is very possible to get that gunshot light to shine exactly where we've seen it, in between that what's his name? Is this Showalter? No, not Showalter. Hunter's building and the light bulb footage building, the way that we've seen it in the back there. And I was trying to figure out where and how they would have gotten that reflection. That reflection happened in Xana's room. It would have reflected from her window the way that we've seen it in the light bulb camera footage. From the front of that light bulb camera footage, obviously where it was located, and you could see the side of the building. You've seen the flashing light. It would be right before 3 or round 3. That's when it was over. It gives them enough time to go down the the first floor stairs, walk out of the front door, or if they decided to, go out the kitchen, out the sliding door, get up that hill, take that vehicle, get into it, drive away. You have to look at the window there. I know you don't see it, but you have to look at the window of that vehicle that's parked there, whether that's on Walenta or in the parking lot behind the house, is glaring at Jack's house. glaring at the windows. I mean, it is lighting up the second floor of that house as all this is going down. And as soon as it's over, they drive away. There's nothing more after that besides the dog barking. Other weird sounds that are mostly sound like movie, something coming from a movie being blasted or something like that. But you don't hear any more gunshots, no more weird hoot and hollering. It's over. Everything is over before even what was it? God, what do they call that lady? Before Molly ever gets there. So that's also where it would come in, where somebody's saying, oh, the place, they got shot, or they got shot up, or there was a shooting, because there was. So I'll have to explain that later with more visual again, okay, since I'm not explaining it with the visual. But I did show in a live event that, and I did prove that there was a revolver in this case. There was a gun in this case being used, and definitely used at the end of their unalivings.
Had the amphetamine in his system as well. Now,
number one, you cannot torture them unless you can keep them awake. Number two, the reason why Kaylee doesn't have that in her system is because she's not a target. She was never supposed to be a target. But something happened to her, and they had to figure something out. And I'm not going to be done proving that to anybody. I'm going to get the truth on this. Whether she's dead or alive, guys, I'm going to continue putting it out.
all of them were intoxicated. So I think that plays into a little bit of this idea, could one person have done this? Well, when you have two women sleeping in a bed upstairs and they're asleep, they may have, one of them may have awakened. I don't know, maybe both of them awoke. I don't know. We'd have to hear a medical opinion on that based on what a forensic pathologist or some other expert saw from the photo.
So we can end it right there. Boom. She's not going to be helpful after this. But however, you can go to her channel, watch the rest, and see what she says. Let's move on. Can't waste our time on anything we don't need anymore, right? All right, let's finish up the POV. Now, Pov's take on this was pretty good. He got me understanding the sheaf situation. And I agree with him that this sheaf may have been underneath this mattress and they tried to use it. But I then have another thought because of how the sheets are here. I mean, it very well could have been sitting in between the sheet, but I still feel that the perp was playing with their knife and decided to use their knife. Didn't care about the sheaf at all. They had gloves on and everything. They care less about this sheaf. Staging purposes for a DNA, that's the officers going through trash to add some type of DNA. And I've already explained that unless there's some saturation of sweat, which usually needs to be a lot, can get behind any one of these snaps. But it takes a lot for that to happen. Sorry, it's not a quick, exertion, and then it gets there. No, it has to be on the body. There has to be some protruding sweat. And why is it not on the sheets? Why is it not anywhere else where they can find that particular DNA besides behind that's why I know it's a lie. The only thing that will seep in is blood. Okay? Blood would seep in. Maybe saliva. Maybe some, but how this is laid, how would saliva get right here? Now, yes, this is here, but to add a DNA to it, that is something I believe an officer has done. And why they only have 99% of Brian's dad and not him is because Brian knew that they were after his DNA to place it here. He knew he was going to get framed for this. That's why he was very careful about his trash. When did that start? When did he start thinking that was going to happen? Possibly during October, during the Halloween. His conversation and friendship possibly with Brent Kopacka, because the same thing was happening to him. Or Brian is a Fed, or Brian is a volunteered informant. And he knew he was getting placed here. That's why he was being careful with his DNA. That's why they can only find his father's DNA. Perfect. But they can't place the father there because the father's in another state, has a perfect alibi. So how does the dad's DNA get over here? Like, come on now. Now, let's listen to Pav.
Find evidence on the back of this sheath. At the very most, you would expect to find some evidence on the side of the sheath. But because of the placement of the sheath and the direction the blood would be traveling, the last place you would expect to find evidence that was probative would be on the bottom of the sheath, especially this strap. And if you did find evidence that was probative, it would be blood, certainly not skin cells. So if you were truly going to process this scene with an unbiased way, then you would look at the sheath, and the sheath with the probative value of the blood samples would be on the back of the sheath and possibly the sides. DNA found on the underside near the snap would be the least probative value, or the least probative DNA, other than what was actually covered by the bedspread. So if there is more DNA found on the sheath underneath the bedspread, that wouldn't be very probative either, in my opinion. By probative, I mean what they're saying is attributable to this crime. I would think this would be the least probative evidence that you could find, and for some reason they wanted to use that as the most probative evidence in the whole case. But let's continue. Okay, when we get...
But before we continue, the reason why they chose this is because they wanted to make sure they can create an ownership for this knife sheath and knife to Brian Kohberger, and leave nothing open to the fact that Kaylee owns this exact knife, and Maddie could own this exact knife too. This could be Maddie's knife sheath and Maddie's knife and not Kaylee's. It could have been a gift to her. Now, I'm not saying by Brian, anybody. It could have been a gift to her even from Kaylee when she got her own. Did she buy two or only one of them? So don't forget to rewind. I showed you all the information. There's documentation about her purchasing it with her debit card. And like he said, it's impossible to get skin cells in between the snap and the belt there. It's impossible. Especially the way it was laying. It's not impossible to get drops, but it's not enough drops to get behind and seep in behind any of these buttons. It's not enough to soak in. That's another thing you guys need to learn about leather. How much liquid or condensation does it take for a leather to absorb? So I'll have to look into that. We'll do a live event about it. And I bet you there will be no absorption unless it was thick and heavy. Okay? Nothing they found nothing behind these. That's why they chose it. They chose it so they could say, oh, there's sweat on there, there's skin cells on there, to make you think this belongs to the perpetrator.
Go to forensic report 1 and we see where they swabbed the sheath. You can see the first place they wanted to swab the sheath was the area where you would think the least probative evidence would be, which was this strap right here. And this is what they call Q1.1. And you can see the areas that they swabbed. We know they didn't swab the top because in testimony they said they didn't because they were going to look for fingerprints in that area. So when you look at this square purple area where they actually swabbed, that actually they're squaring off this area. They didn't swab it. They swabbed just about every other part of this strap, this leather area. And as we see in other pictures, they actually found the majority of what they found as far as the skin cells actually in the sides down here where the strap meets the sheath, which again would be the least probative area I would think on the sheath. And then when you look at other areas that they swabbed, 1.2 is the sides right here and over here. Now that would be a probative area to swab based on the way the sheath was found in the bed that was uncovered, I would think. And then you'll see down here, they swabbed the sides of the sheath as well, going all the way around. That's this pink area that they attribute to 1.3, which again, I don't think 1.3 would be a very probative area to swab because it was underneath the bedspread. But as we keep going and they turn it around on the back, and this is what I'm talking about. I don't see any way that the criminals or the law enforcement could recreate these types of blood stains on the back of this sheath based on where it was found in the bed. It's consistent with the other stains in the bed. So 1.4, which you can see area 1.4 is everything in this area right here. And when they tested it with their orthotolidine, you can see these tiny little specks here. Let's make it bigger. These tiny little specks of blood, you can see they're really all over the back of this thing. But these are the ones that came up positive for blood for them. So they swabbed the whole back of this sheath. In this entire swab, they came up with 1.4, Q1.4. So they didn't swab these individually. They just swabbed the entire back of it after they registered that it was positive for blood. And I would expect it to be positive for blood because you can see all the tiny little either high velocity blood stains or possibly aspirated blood stains. So this entire back of this sheath is 1.4. I would say this is the most probative evidence area on the sheath, along with the sides that they attribute to 1.2 right here, 1.2 on the sides. 1.3 and Q1.1, I would say, are the least probative parts of this sheath. But then when we go to the forensic results, it tells a whole story, I believe. And that's going to be found in report number 4 here. And as we go through report number 4, you're going to see that they obtained a profile from one.
So before we go on, I want to thank you, Pavarotti, for putting this together. This is what I am supposed to be doing. So when I do mention something, I should be putting up the visual. Sorry I don't have that prepared, but my visuals are on my phone and they're not on my laptop. And I don't know how I'm supposed to get it to my laptop without having to constantly email myself most of the information. I am trying to figure out how to use my backup Google on my laptop so that I can get what I have on my phone onto the laptop. So please bear with me. But don't forget to rewind when I do discuss how that sheath could have been placed there in the middle of the incident. I definitely, after watching, hold on, I hate this. It's like that witchcraft, I swear to God. It's witchcraft, like binding the back of my throat so I can't fucking talk. But It makes sense that the sheaf was not placed there after the fact, but placed there in the middle of the fight. That then tells me that this sheaf, this knife that's being used on them, actually belongs to them. So sometimes you can pull out a weapon to protect yourself, but if that perpetrator gets a hold of your weapon, will use that weapon on you.
.1 entered it. They say they entered it into CODIS. I still haven't seen any evidence that they entered it into the national CODIS database. I've seen evidence that they entered it into the state CODIS, but and they didn't get a match. But then when you go to 1.4, which is the probative area of the sheath on the back, then they have a DNA result. They say the major component is Kaylee with a minor of Maddie. But we're going to dive in a little bit deeper on that to see what the true measurements and the true results were. And then they go on.
So I'm sorry, my job is to, talk through it. Always minor of Maddie. Why is it always a minor of Maddie? For Maddie, her stabbing was staged. They've already tried their best to do what they wanted to do to Maddie somewhere else. Okay? They would have placed her body on that bed and staged the scene. As for the knife being on the, knife sheath being on the side of her, they very well could have placed it there while doing it in order to set someone up. I'm just saying. But because it's more of Kaylee than Maddie on that sheaf, even though that's under Maddie, that would be them placing Kaylee beside Maddie to stage her scene and leaving the sheaf right there. There's a reason for someone to have left that sheaf. It's either A, again, it doesn't even belong to them. It belongs to the people that they're unaliving. That's why they didn't care about it. Or B, they already had plans of setting somebody up to begin with. So, yes, there's blood cast that matches what's on the mattress there, the sheet. But we don't know if there's blood underneath that sheaf. Okay, so that sheaf laying there should be no blood splats underneath it. That should be covered. Okay? There should be nothing. But I bet you that there is, because that's why Dr. Turvey comes in saying that shit was staged. Because yes, there's blood on top of it, but that's after the fact. That's when they got to go in and they got to stage Kaylee. And having it to be mostly Kaylee on that sheaf means that happened after Maddie was taken down. And somebody placed the sheaf there, probably, because, hey, maybe they slid it there just to hold it there, okay? And wasn't, sometimes you'll take a knife out of a sheaf and then you're trying to figure out where you're going to put the sheaf down. You're not thinking about just dropping it on the floor. You're leaving it, you're using Maddie as a paperweight. I'm going to place it right there while I take care of you. Okay? And then her splat, her cast off. That would be what's all over the top of it. So it's placed in there after Maddie. It wasn't there during Maddie. Or anything with Maddie's struggle.
On to say that Ethan and Xana are excluded as contributors to this mixture, which is 1.4. And then they go to the partial DNA obtained from 1.2 indicates a mixture of 3 individuals, at least one of which.
Okay, so if Xana and Ethan and their DNA is not on the knife at all, either A, there's more than one, or more than two, or more than 4 perpetrators in that motherfucking house, or B, if they want to stick it to, lone man, okay, he did it all by himself, Ethan and Xana were last. And that's kind of where they're going with it, because they do not want to show alternate perpetrators. That's why they added Xana as the one running up and down the stairs. Yet the blood does not support Xana running up and down the stairs at all. And whatever happened to them is a completely different weapon, because there's no mixture of Maddie and Kaylee on Ethan and Xana. So unless I'm wrong, let's see.
Which is male, but it says due to low level and results and limited data, no comparisons can be made. Now, 1.2 was that other area that I said was indicative of being probative on the sheath. 1.3 is DNA from 2 individuals, at least one is male, and no comparisons can be made due to limited data. But 1.3, again, that's not a probative area of the sheath because it was under the comforter. So when they go to their evidence, they talk about 1.1 and 1.4 were consumed during testing. However, they do have extracts that remain. I wonder how big those extracts really are. But that gives us the indication of the results of that. But when we look at 1.4, 1.4 is very interesting to me when you look at the breakdown of these things. And I've showed y'all how to really look at these things and get the exact breakdown. And let me tell you what I mean by that. When we go to page 36, page 36 is talking about Q1.4. So this is the area on the back of the sheath with the little blood drops that I believe is a probative area of the sheath. What did they come to as far as determination of this DNA? Contributors, there are 2 contributors in that area on the back of the sheath. One contributor is responsible for 88% of the DNA mixture on that sheath. The other contributor is only responsible for 12% of the DNA mixture on the back of that sheath. So when you look at the back of the sheath in the probative area, you've got all of these little drops of blood, 4 of which pre-tested positive for orthotolidine to be blood, but then they swabbed the entire back of the sheath. And the results that they came was 88% of one of the victims attributed to the DNA on the entire area of this sheath. Only 12% of the other victim attributed to the DNA on the back of this sheath. So 88 and 12, that's pretty much 9-1. Kaylee's DNA versus Maddie's. So if 1 or 10% of this.
So right there is proof that they had to have come back later with Kaylee. It's impossible that they got only 12% of Maddie on that sheath. Basically, I'm correct that during the time that they were supposed to abuse Maddie before unaliving her, that her best friend got her toasted so that she would pass out, that she wouldn't feel anything. It would have been impossible for them to do what they wanted to do to her. Number one, she was too intoxicated. She would have passed out, so she couldn't take the Adderall. She couldn't be forced to take the Adderall to keep her awake. She's already down. Okay, they may have beat on her. We don't know if she got beaten marks. But what we do know is she's got some slashing marks. How? They got Xana and Ethan to take the Adderall. Possibly because maybe they take it anyway, just like they say. or they were forced to in order to keep them alive so they can torture them and so they can watch each other die. And then set it up and make the survivors say, yeah, they done that a couple times, snorting Adderall. I've never heard of that shit before, okay? Never heard of that. But I never knew that that could keep you awake and you can continue drinking. But I do think that a psychopath who wants to torture could definitely do that. Kaylee, yes, may have drank, but she wasn't forced to take any Adderall. She did nothing with the Adderall. Could they have unalived her because they couldn't do what they wanted to do to Maddie? And it was her punishment that she stabbed them in the back in some way to protect Maddie. And she ended up losing her life protecting her best friend in that way. That's Maddie's knife. Maybe Maddie had it on her knowing that they may turn on her because she did not follow directions. And she went and made sure her best friend was toasted. Okay? She may have lost the ability of being a part of this situation and staying alive. Or it was an accident. That they weren't expecting her running down the hallway and boom. And then they hit her again, but not realizing it was her. And then they had to stage the scene. There's two scenarios for this. But as for no cast, very little cast off for Maddie means they went and stabbed her post-mortem to get at least something on top of that sheath. They knew when they were placing Kaylee next to Maddie that they needed to add that sheath because it's her sheath. And then later, you can definitely prove that an officer did their best to place a DNA on that sheath because that was the idea to begin with, is to blame this murder on somebody. Who is the best person to blame it on? A teacher you hate. Okay? A teacher you don't get along with. A teacher that's weird to you. That you know nobody's ever going to respect or really believe in because they're weird. Because there's something about them that's not normal. Okay? They may never have killed anybody in their life and never had any thoughts of doing that. It's just because with society, when they judge you for who you are, how you act, how you relate to others, how you try to make friends, when you're too pushy, that freaks them out. They think you're fucking crazy. Okay. All right, well, I gotta go. I will finish this off later, but definitely make sure you guys rewind because I gotta go to work. But think about the things I was telling you. We have proof right here in front of us that this sheath very well could, Kaylee could have been carrying it, not knowing if the individuals were going to unalive her or not, or she may need it. But I believe that this was on her the whole time. Okay? I believe the perp used it on her and then used it on Maddie. But Maddie's already dead. For Maddie, that's a staging. Now, unless they can prove cross-contamination, when it comes to Kaylee and Maddie in Xana and Ethan, unless he can prove that or show that, it is not this weapon. It is not. There's multiple weapons. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ, wait! All right, I'm so sorry. I gotta go.